It was midnight on a Tuesday the first time I saw her. I was taking the last train home from work. The boss had kept me in overtime to meet some insane deadline. I'd been feeling grouchy, frustrated that I'd been stuck at a desk instead of lounging on a couch at home, watching Dexter reruns. I loved that show, had gone to several fan meets, even bought some memorabilia. I needed it, and without it, I was hurting. Then she'd appeared in front of me like an apparition on the platform just across me, body tilted to face the oncoming tracks. The sight of her refreshed me, sent a chill through me that stiffened my back, goosebumps appearing even in the warm summer air. She glimmered in the moonlight, its white silver sheen dappling her thick black hair, draped over her shoulders and down to the small of her back. From where I was, I caught the gentle curve of a round cheek, the tiniest indent of a dimple. Then a train stopped between us, momentarily removing her from my sight, and when it pulled away, she'd gone with it. She was on my mind for days after that. For a while, I considered taking the last train again, just to catch a glimpse of her. I wasn't serious about it. Not really. There was no way I was missing my downtime at home just to catch a few seconds of a hot girl. It was just a tiny itch in the back of my mind, one that wasn't annoying enough to push me to do something. I didn't see her again for 3 months. The second time was in a park, just down the road from me. The moment I saw her, I blushed, feeling like a creeper. I knew that it was a coincidence, that it had just so happened that we were at the same place at the same time. Still, I couldn't deny that red flush that choked up my insides when I saw her. I had wanted to see her. Now that I had, that itch that had never really been scratched became an ache, throbbing in my skull. This time she saw me staring at her. She met my eyes with her own, and I couldn't help but notice that they were the plainest thing about her. A faded brown shot through with blood. She started to move, and for a second I thought she was coming towards me. For a second, though, she disappeared, like a ghost. A dog had dove into the pile of leaves between us, stirring up a cloud of brown and orange and red that obscured her as she escaped. The image of her gnawed away at me for months like a starved animal, nibbling at the crevices of my mind, looking for some purchase on the wall of denial I had put up against it. But time always wins. I needed her. She'd appeared like a ghost, and just like a ghost, she'd disappeared. Had I been seeing things? She began to haunt me in my dreams, slinking up to me, slipping through me, disappearing as I whirled around to look for her. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't focus on anything except the thought of seeing her again. I became irritable and snappy to the point where my friends started to drift away from me. I didn't care though. It only took a week and a half after the second time for me to give in to the urges in my head. She was on the same platform, waiting for the same last train at midnight on a Tuesday. I paced towards her, shoes snapping on the concrete, getting closer and closer, but I couldn't do it. She scared me. There was something about her that made me want to curl up like a fetus, hide in the safety of myself. I was starting to back away when she took the choice from my hands and tore it to pieces. She was gliding towards me, a long, flowy dress hiding any bounce in her steps. "Hey, I've seen you before, right?" My mouth flapped open and closed uselessly, silenced by the reality of the situation. She was talking to me. Me. She came closer and closer and closer. My heart throbbed. Skull felt like it was about to explode. Each breath grew shorter and shorter. Then pain lanced through my head and she started screaming. I woke up with a splitting headache. Right wrist and hand felt raw and bruised, stinging like a fresh burn. Turned to look at it, saw welts running all across the back of my hand, blood dripping from a cuffed wrist. Followed the thick gray chain to the other cuff, then up a slender white arm to its owner. She was staring right at me. Her bloodshot eyes were still the same faded brown, and now a glassy sheen covered them. Dried spit trails ran down the side of her mouth, down her chin. Something was wrong. She was empty now. Something was missing from her. I grabbed at her hand, then recoiled instantly. She was freezing cold. She was dead. I started sobbing, praying that the madman that got her wouldn't come back for me. I didn't want to die. I didn't want it to end this way. Desperately trying to stand up, tugging at her limp body, my legs gave way. I collapsed into the wall. Cradling my head in my hands, I saw a bottle of sleeping pills tipped over a couple meters from where we sat and realized how she'd died. I decided that if we came, I'd bite his fingers, tear off his hand. I waited there all night, hand throbbing in pain. The horror and the agony kept me awake, but still, sleep took me as I counted the 12,634th second. It was when morning came that the real horror appeared. The gray light cutting through the window slates wasn't very bright, but it was enough for me to notice the small details. It's always the small details that give away the truth. A TV set, tucked up in the corner on a couple of books, a small coffee table overflowing with papers, a Dexter poster hung up on the far wall. I was at home.